So guys, now we are going to install this SQL on our Windows computer. uh, you don't need to install this or any practice it. I want you to understand the backend of this SQL, like queries, and that's it. You don't need to practice, it's optional. If you want to practice, you can download this in Linux or in Windows. First I will tell the basics of SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and it's not a programming language. Uh, it stands for Structured Query Language, which means that we need to send the queries in a structured manner to get the information or to update the information in the database. Of course, there is a programming version of the SQL that is called PL/SQL, where you can automate the SQL queries and also can represent the variables. So we are not going into that much depth. We are just seeing the pen testing perspective about this SQL. So there are different versions of SQL: Oracle SQL, Microsoft SQL, etc. So the basic syntax will be the same, and what these guys will do is they will add some administrative commands. Like MS SQL contains somewhat administrative type of commands to create the databases or to share the databases. But the basic syntax of this SQL remains constant in all the languages. So we are going to download this MySQL. Let's Google search about this MySQL downloads, and you can see mysql.com is the website, and there is an enterprise edition. We don't want that, and we just go with this free community edition. And you can see there are some of these community servers and Workbench. First we are going to install this community server, and we are going to install this Workbench, or else we can use this Microsoft MySQL installer to install both of these softwares. So let's click on this. So this community server will start a server of this MySQL, and using this Workbench we will connect to this server, and we can operate on the databases. This Workbench is a graphical user interface, and this MySQL shell is command line based. Now click on this installer for Windows, and you can see there are two versions, 32-bit only, but this is a web installer and this is the offline installer. So always prefer the offline installer. Click on download. So you can, it's asking for login and sign up. You can just click this no thanks, just start my download and save it to any folder you want. So meantime I will tell some theory about this MySQL. So this SQL is very nice subject, but also it's very difficult if you go in depth, because I just concentrate on the basics to pass my course in my college. There is a SQL course, and it's very hard. And if you go in depth of this SQL, you will encounter this term called big data. That is the newest term now going on, big data, and the oldest term is data mining, where you will have so much of data, and you will extract the useful information from these databases and data warehouses. So we are not going that much depth. We are just seeing the basics and the penetration testing point of view of this SQL, where we can have this MySQL SQL vulnerability, and how we can inject our own query. So my installer has been downloaded. Let me click on this. So run this file. So now my MySQL installer has been started, and it's asking some options, and I will go with this developer default and click on next. You can see the contents that are going to be installed, and MySQL Workbench is also going to be installed. You don't need to worry about installing separately. That's why click on this developer default, click on next, and the following requirements have failing the following products have failing requirements. So we don't need any of this now because we are concentrating only on SQL basics. So if you want to connect to Visual Studio or to Python connector, you can install this. You can click on next. One or more products have not been satisfied. Yes, I want to continue. Now these products are going to be installed on our computer. Click on execute. So all the components of this MySQL has been installed. You can see the green tick mark here, and it has installed the server, Workbench, shell, and connectors to the Java and C++ program. So you can import this. You can operate with this MySQL databases using any programming language. And now let's click next. Now we need to configure our server. Click on next. So we need to leave it as the default standard MySQL server and click on next. And you can see you can set this as a development computer and click on next. And you can see here the default port is 3306. You can change here, but I am not going to change. Click on next. And now we are going to set the password for this authentication. Click on next, and you need to set the root password. So let's click on the next and click on this. Okay, it's already been set to standard system account. You can also uncheck this if you don't want MySQL server at the system startup, and I want this as a system startup. Click on next. Now we want to execute all these commands. Alright, the configuration has been set. It has set some firewall rules and initializing database, and the server has been started. Now click on finish and click on next and click on finish and again next. Okay, now we need to type in the password we have entered before. Let me check this. Okay, connection succeeded. Fine, that's fine. The default username is root and the password is what you have entered before in the credential storage box. You can click on next now. Now click on execute. So now let's click on this finish and click on next, and now it's asking to start this MySQL workbench and shell. I just untick this shell. We only need the workbench. Let's click on finish. So as you can see, my SQL workbench has been started. You can see there is already a connection. Now let me delete this. Delete connection, delete, and now let's add a new connection. Click on this plus icon and give this connection a name. Let's say local MySQL. Sorry, MySQL MySQL server, right? And this is my IP address, localhost, and the port 3306, and username is root. If you have added the another username, you need to put that username here and click on the store in vault. So if you enter the password, it will be permanently stored in the vault. Type in the password and click on OK. I think I have entered the correct. Now click on this test connection before OK. This is a very important step, because if you click OK, then you need to test this again, but it's better practice to test this connection now. And you can see successfully made the SQL connection. Click on OK, and now click on OK. Now double click on this. As you can see, now a interface has been opened. Now I can execute some SQL queries, then that will reflect on our database. You can also create multiple databases and multiple tables in those databases. So this is all about this installation of the MySQL Workbench, and in the next video we will see some SQL basics, and I will also explain this interface. No need to worry about that. The main thing is, even if you do not practice this MySQL queries, you need to just at least watch these videos, because it's very important. You will understand how the SQL works. I can just say the SQL injection by showing you the select command, and where the quotations will divide the one query into the two queries, and then I can just show you directly. But understanding this backend SQL basics, not only this SQL, also other backend will help you understand how this SQL injection or any other data is getting processed. So that's very important from the pentester point of view. So it's learn to the basics of this backend. So that's all for this video. I hope you have understood. If you just not install this SQL Workbench, just at least watch the basics video. I highly recommend to install this Workbench and practice the SQL